එදිනෙදා ඔබේ මුළු සිරුරටම රැකවරණයක්. සුදේශී කොඹ සබන්.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50 අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, readying for the future. Cybersecurity expert calls for more protection from cyber attacks as Sri Lanka poised for digital transformation.
As we shift to a digital infrastructure, a digital Sri Lanka, we have to be vigilant about cyber attacks.
Handing over the reins, estate sector leader Arumugan Thondaman's final journey ends in his hometown of Hatton.
Father, you are the mountain that shielded me from this harsh world. Where do I look for the strength to get through your passing?
Nature reclaims 120 million rupee Mount Lavinia beach reclamation undone in a mere 40 days. Controlling the threat, Sri Lanka reports no COVID-19 community transmissions as new cases restricted to Navy and repatriates. All this and much more coming up on this Sunday, the 31st of May 2020.
සිරා කොක්කක් සෙට් කරගන්න ඔබේ ඇඳුම එළිය රැකගන්න.
නවරින් සෑම සේවීමකින්ම ඇඳුමට අලුත් එළිය.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Shanella Fernando. Moving on to your top stories for tonight. Two government websites were subjected to a cyber attack yesterday which defaced homepages of the websites, and according to the Sri Lanka Computers Emergency Readiness Team, no data has been breached. First at 9 spoke to cybersecurity professional Asela Vaidyalankara to talk more on the attacks, where he suggested a range of fixes that Sri Lanka should implement to counter the vulnerabilities of government websites, adding that the defacement was carried out by amateur hackers in a demonstration of their skills. He also highlighted measures that can be taken in order to minimize the risk of future cyber attacks.
The websites of the Ministry of Public Administration, Home Affairs, Provincial Councils and Local Government and the Sri Lanka Foreign Employment Bureau came under a cyber attack yesterday. The site's homepages were seen defaced by the attackers. Earlier this month, several Sri Lankan websites with the domain names .lk and .com were also seen attacked. In the past, Sri Lanka has been subjected to a number of cyber attacks, with the first dating back to 1998, which was identified as the world's first cyber terror attack, launched at the time by the now defeated terrorist group, the LTTE. Since then, many cyber attacks were launched, including against the website of the Embassy of Kuwait and the President's official webpage back in 2016. Sharing his expertise with First at 9, cybersecurity professional Asela Vaidyalankara categorized the attacks as unsophisticated and carried out by amateur hackers in a display of their skills.
We didn't notice any breach of data here. This type of vandalism or this type of attack is basically aimed at just disfiguring the front page of a website. Has it caused major damage? No. But it is some sort of inconvenience. This is not a very sophisticated type of attack. These type of attacks are carried out by what we call script kiddies, who are very junior or entry-level hackers who are just trying to learn how to hack. So they find a website with some sort of small vulnerability and they exploit it. In this case, they try to send some sort of political message or ideology.
He also made recommendations that could minimize future risks and fix websites most susceptible to face such cyber attacks.
As we shift to a digital infrastructure, a digital Sri Lanka, we have to be vigilant about cyber attacks. There is never a point where we can say we can stop cyber attacks. Only thing we can do is to minimize the risk, to have processes, to have standards, to have best practices, and to constantly have vigilance, looking out for this type of possibilities and the vulnerabilities that exist in your system, so that expected cyber attacks can be repelled, and to minimize the risk of known cyber attacks. That is the only way to go forward and to fortify our digital infrastructure. In cybersecurity, we have a practice that we use for organizations. We say assume breach, meaning that you must assume that you are breached and your internal processes should behave accordingly. Especially for public sector websites, I would also recommend to go on this approach and to assume that all these entities are breached and therefore have intensive oversight to ensure that these vulnerabilities are found and fixed immediately. Because most of the sites and most of the digital presence that we notice are because of outdated websites.
The Presidential Commission of Inquiry investigating the Easter Sunday attacks heard emotional testimonies from attendees of the Zion Church Easter Sunday services, where they described several interactions with the bomber prior to the fatal incident. Church pastor Ganeshamurthy Thirukumar revealed that the suspect, who had identified himself as Umar, had feigned interest in the church services under the guise of seeking blessings for his sick mother, but suspicions were raised and other church regulars had proceeded to further question his motives when he detonated his suicide device.
Ganeshamurthy Thirukumar, a pastor at the Zion Church in Batticalow, testified before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry investigating the Easter Sunday attacks yesterday. Giving evidence before the commission, the witness revealed that on the morning of 21st April 2019, he had observed an individual who was not a regular attendee loitering near the church premises. Shortly after this, the witness had approached the suspect, and upon questioning, he had identified himself as Umar and claimed to have visited the church to observe the services. The witness stated that he had then invited the suspect to enter the church, but the suspect had declined the offer and stated that he was seeking blessings for the recovery of his mother, who was ill at the time. The commission then questioned the witness as to which language was used in the exchange, to which he responded that although the conversation was held in Tamil, he had identified the suspect as a Muslim due to his use of the term Umma when referring to his mother. The witness stated that the suspect, who claimed to have travelled from Uddamavadi, was at the time clad in a pink t-shirt and carried a large bag while holding his cap to his chest, which contained a smaller bag inside it. Following this, the witness had then introduced the suspect to a layperson named Brother Stanley and instructed him to take down the suspect's details, after which the witness had then departed the church premises. The witness revealed, just 5 kilometers away from the church, he had then received a phone call informing him of an incident at the church premises. The witness added that upon reaching the church, he had been approached by Brother Stanley, who had wept and informed him that it was the suspect who had caused the incident. Following this, the witness then broke down in tears and told the commission of the death of his 12-year-old son in the bombing. The witness added that it was only at 6 p.m. that he had been able to confirm the death of his son, and that the identification of his remains was possible through the recognition of a fabric fragment from the shirt he had purchased for him that was stuck on his mangled remains. Following this, the commission called upon Nagaya Stanley, who revealed that the suspect had declined another invitation to enter the church, saying that he needed to make an urgent phone call. The witness then told the commission that he was suspicious of the individual's intentions, as his appearance looked similar to that of an ISIS member. Further, the witness revealed that another church layperson named Yoganathan had informed him of having seen the same suspect loitering at the church during Good Friday services a few days before. Following this, the witness had then instructed 2 other churchgoers to further question the suspect, which turned into a somewhat animated verbal exchange between the trio, during which time the bomber detonated his device. The witness added that he then entered the church, where he witnessed the carnage within, with the mangled bodies of the 14 children scattered throughout, which he described as the most horrifying sight he had witnessed.
A spate of shooting has been witnessed in the past few days, carried out by underworld gangs eager to make up for lost time after more than 2 months of restrictions on their activities due to the high security presence during curfew periods. Following the lifting of curfew restrictions, a spike in underworld activity has been reported, with gangs resorting to extortion and intimidation and spiraling into violence, such as what was seen at Soisapura, where a restaurant was attacked with automatic weapons. The Special Task Force, however, have succeeded in tracking down the main suspect and in the attack and arrested him today. Police media spokesperson SP Jaliya Senaratne announced that a suspect has been arrested over the recent shooting attack on a restaurant in the area of Soisapura in Moratuwa. The arrest had been made by the Police Special Task Force at around 8 p.m. last night in the area of Eluvila in Panadura. The suspect had then been handed over to the Mount Lavinia police station for further action. The arrested suspect was identified as Janit Hashan Vimalavira alias Konda Janiya and is a resident of Angulana in Moratuwa. The arrested suspect has also been identified as a close associate of the underworld leader Angulani Anju. Further investigations have also revealed that the suspect had also played a part in the assassination of Dehiwala Mount Lavinia Municipal Council member Ranjan De Silva, which took place 2 years before under the instructions of Angulane Anju. The late Ranjan De Silva was the father of cricketer Dhananjay De Silva. The suspect Kondajania was arrested and released on bail in connection with this incident. Furthermore, investigations also revealed that the suspect had carried out an extortion racket and other shooting incidents on the instructions of Angulane Anju, who is currently in hiding in Dubai. 3 suspects are already in police custody after attacking the restaurant on the 19th of May using swords. The arrested suspect was produced before the Mount Lavinia magistrate and remanded until 5th of June. Investigations into the incident are being carried out under the directives of the Senior Superintendent of Police in charge of the Mount Lavinia Division. In a separate development, it was revealed that an internal conflict between 2 underworld gangs have been the cause for the shooting incident which took place at the Lakseta 7 housing complex in Maligavat last evening. The injured victim in the incident, identified as Rauf, who is also a member of an underworld gang, is still under treatment at the intensive care unit of the National Hospital in Colombo. The victim had previously survived an earlier attack carried out targeting him by associates of underworld figure Kanjipani Imran on the 30th of August 2018 at the Jumma Masjid Road in Maligavat. Investigations are currently underway by the Colombo Crimes Division to apprehend the suspects involved in the incidents. The final rites of the late leader of the Ceylon Workers' Congress, Arumugam Thondaman, considered an idol of the country's estate workers, was worked off its state sponsorship this evening. The late political figure passed away on Tuesday at the age of 55 due to cardiac arrest. Thondaman served as the Minister of Community Empowerment and Estate Infrastructure at the time of his demise. The remains of the late leader of the Ceylon Workers' Congress, Arumugan Thondaman, was brought to the CWC headquarters in Kotagala yesterday. Religious leaders and politicians also arrived this morning to pay their respects to the remains of the late politician. Meanwhile, the Chief Prelate of the Asgiriya chapter, Most Venerable Varakagoda Sri Gnanaratana Thera, has issued a statement expressing condolences over the death of the late minister. The Thera praised the conduct of the late CWC leader for setting an example by working towards upholding the rights of the plantation workers in a democratic way without resorting to extremism. In the meantime, estate workers who were unable to attend the funeral of the late politician were seen express their condolences by adorning the streets with white flags and displaying banners. However, security measures were put in place in Hatton and the surrounding areas to prevent people from gathering. Despite the curfew imposed, plantation workers in Bhagavantalawa, Dekoya and Maskelia walked miles to pay their respects to the late minister, and steps were taken to send them back. Remains of the late Arumugan Thondaman was taken out from the CWC headquarters in Kotagala at around 2 p.m. today and were brought to the Norwood Thondaman grounds for the final rites to be performed under state sponsorship.
இவரோட கனவுகளை நிச்சயமாக்க வேண்டியது என்னோட பொறுப்பு. ஜீவன் தொண்டமானாகிய நான் உங்களுக்கு என் வார்த்தையை தரேன். Father, you are the mountain that shielded me from this harsh world. Where do I look for the strength to get through your passing? Firstly, I'd like to thank the respected religious leaders who are present here. I would like to thank His Excellency President Gotabaya Rajapaksa for his unending support, especially in arranging this funeral and given the country's situation. Most of all, I'd like to thank Honorable Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, who was also a very good friend of my father's. And I would like to thank the Prime Minister of India. But most of all, I would like to thank the Tri-Forces, the police, the PHIs, the health and government officials, without whom none of this would be possible. I would like to thank the people of Sri Lanka for mourning along with the family, and it means a lot to us.
ඔබ සඳහන් කළාසේ නායකයෙකු පැතිර යද්දී කිසිදු ලෙසකින් වතු කරේ තරුණයන් මේ යුද්ධයට
මා මිය දෙන්නට දින කිහිපයකට පෙර පවා රාජතාන්ත්‍රික මෙහෙවර මේ මොහොතේ අවසන් ගෞරව එතුමන්ට පුද කරන එතුමාගේ පවුලේ උදවිය විතරක් නෙවෙයි. අර ඈත කඳු අතර සිට පවා කඳු
வலுவூட்டல் அம்சங்களையும் அவர் செய்து கொண்டிருக்கிறார். எமது முறைப்படி
ඒ සැබෑ ශ්‍රී ලාංකීය උවමනාව වෙනුවෙන්
ஆறுமுகன் ராமநாதன் தொண்டமான் அவர்கள்
තමන්ගේ නායකයාගේ නික්ම යාම
We'll return shortly after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back in more news. The island-wide curfew went into effect last night at 10 p.m. and will continue to be in place until 4 a.m. tomorrow. With the curfew will then continue to be in effect across the entire country between 10 a.m. and 4 a.m. from the 1st of June until the 3rd of June. In the meantime, 20 recoveries reported today took the country's overall recoveries to 801, while the active cases reached 819 after 10 more COVID-19 cases were reported today. What is significant is that the new cases continue to be contained within the Navy and foreign returnee clusters.
With the addition of 20 recoveries, Sri Lanka's overall count of recoveries went up to 801 today. The country's total number of active cases was recorded at 817, with the addition of 10 cases reported today and 62 cases reported yesterday. Among the cases reported yesterday are 34 returnees from Kuwait, 3 returnees from Maldives and 25 Navy personnel. So far, a total of 759 Navy personnel have been diagnosed with the COVID-19 virus. However, the number of recoveries from the Navy went up to 403 as 15 Navy personnel were discharged from the hospital today. In the meantime, the total number of foreign returnees infected with the COVID-19 virus currently stands at 515, while the number of local infections that have been reported so far are 311. Of the total number of cases that have been reported so far, the majority of the cases seem to be reported from the Navy clusters and among returnees currently undergoing quarantine, while no community transmissions have been reported as yet. With random tests being conducted on groups identified to be of the highest risk, another set of biological and blood samples were obtained from 65 persons at Dharmarama and Swarna Road in Vellavatta today.
ගෆූර් පාරේ සිදු කරපු PCR පරීක්ෂණ වලිනුත් ගෆූර් ගොඩනැගිල්ලවට සිදු කරපු පරීක්ෂණ වලින් අපිට එකම රෝගියෙක්වත් වාර්තා වෙලා නැහැ. එම නිසා දිගින් දිගටම කුඩා නියඳි තෝරාගෙන PCR සහ රුධිර පරීක්ෂණ කිරීමට ඊළඟ සතියේදී අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
In the meantime, 160 students of the Institute of Technology of the University of Moratuwa in Homa Gama were sent home today after successfully completing 23 days of quarantine. Meanwhile, an island-wide curfew came into effect from 10 p.m. last night. The curfew will be lifted at 4 a.m. tomorrow, the 1st of June, and will be reimposed at 10 p.m. The cycle will then continue until the 3rd of June. On the 4th and 5th of June, an island-wide curfew will once again take effect and will be lifted on the 6th of June at 4 a.m. and reimposed at 10 p.m. the same day. The curfew will continue to be in effect until further notice.
කොරෝනා වෛරසයේ පැතිරීම වළක්වන්න සබන් යොදා දෑත් සෝදන්න.
The recent decision by the United National Party's Working Committee to institute legal action against 100 former UNP members who now make up the Samagi Jana Balawegaya has caused much consternation among in opposition circles. In response to the decision by UNP leader Ranil Wickremesinghe, Samagi Jana Balawegaya leader Sajith Premadasa claimed that there exists no foundation for such action since the alliance was formed through a decision by the very same Working Committee.
එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයේ සියලු දෙනාම බැඳී සිටිනවා කෘත්‍යාධිකාරී මණ්ඩල තීන්දුව తీරන ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න. සමගි ජන බලවේගයේ එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයේ කෘත්‍යාධිකාරී මණ්ඩලයේ යෝජනා ස්ථිරත්වයෙන් ක්‍රියාත්මක කරපු වැඩසටහනක් නිසා අප බලවේගයත් සමග එකට කටයුතු කරන කිසිදු සමාජිකයෙකුට නීතිමය පියවර ගන්නට කිසිම ප්‍රතිපාදනයක් නැහැ.
අපේ මහ බෙදර ආරක්ෂා කළ කටයුතු කරන එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂය ඒක රැකගෙන ඉන්නවා. මේක කුලියදරක් කරන් වෙනින් තැනකට ගිහලා සද්ද කරනවා නේද? ඒක වෙනම කණ්ඩායමක්.
කෘත්‍යාධිකාරී මණ්ඩලයේ බෞද්ධයන් අපිත් එක අපිට පුළුවන් ඔය කියන කට්ටියව පක්ෂෙන් නිරපන්න එතකොට. ඒ වැඩේ කරගන්න තමයි මේ try කරන්නේ. පැහැදිලිව කියන්න කැමති මේ මැතිවරණදී කවුරු හරි මහ බැංකු කල්ලියට ඡන්දයක් දෙනව නම් ඊට වැඩි හොඳයි ඒ ඡන්දේ පොහොට්ටුවට දෙන්න.
ආණ්ඩුව අද ප්‍රයෝගී කරගෙන තියෙනවා විපක්ෂයේ කාණ්ඩායම් දෙකට කඩලා එක කාණ්ඩායමක සහයෝගය අරන් අනිත් කාණ්ඩායමට ගහන්න. ඒ ව්‍යාපෘතියේ එක් කොටසක් තමයි ඊයේ පෙරේදා අපේ 100කට ආසන්න පිරිසක් එළියට දැම්ම කියලා එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයේ සුළුතරයක් ඉන්න කාණ්ඩායමේ තීරණය.
In an effort to reclaim land lost along the Mount Lavinia coastline, the Department of Coast Conservation and Coastal Resources Management spent a sum of 120 million rupees on a project that has thus proven to be futile. Negating the opinions of experts and of the people in the locality, the project had proceeded that has now literally been washed away.
The Department of Coast Conservation and Coastal Resources Management entered into a contract with a foreign company worth 120 million rupees in an attempt to reclaim beaches lost to erosion along the Mount Lavinia coastline. Despite the project receiving cabinet approval from the previous government, the people of the area and many environmentalists decried the previous government's haphazard move. However, with millions of rupees spent on the project, the fruits have now proven to be nothing but futile. As the coastline of the Mount Lavinia beach was filled with 150,000 metric cubes of sand, the attempts by the Department of Coast Conservation and Coastal Resources Management continues to wash away.
හැමතැනම හැමදෙනාම කතා කරන්නේ එක් පැත්ත කඩුණු වැලි ප්‍රමාණය ගැන පමණයි. නමුත් අපි ව්‍යාපෘතිය නිර්මාණය කළේම එක් පැත්තකින් වැලි අඩු වෙලා එම වැලි ප්‍රමාණය උතුරු දෙසට ඒ කියන්නේ වැල්ලවත්ත දෙසට වැලි ක්‍රමයෙන් තැන්පත් වෙලා වැල්ලවත්ත දෙසට කිලෝමීටර් 2කට පමණ ආසන්නයෙන් වෙරළ තීරයක් නිර්මාණය කරන්නට තමයි අපේ ව්‍යාපෘතිය ආරම්භ වුණේ. කිසිම දැනට ඒ වෙරළ කාදන තත්ත්වයක් නෙවෙයි දක්නට ලැබෙන්නේ.
මෙම සම්පූර්ණම සාවද්‍ය ප්‍රකාශය. අද වෙනකොට එතන තිබුණ පරිසර පද්ධතිය, එතන තියෙන ඉතා කුඩා ජීවීන්, ඇල්ගී, නොයෙකුත් අපිෂ්ඨ වංශිකයන් ඇතුළු ඉතාම අලංකාර පරිසර පද්ධතිය විනාශ වෙලා ගිහින් තියෙනවා. ඒකම වැලි ගන්න පම්ප කිරීමේදී එතන තවත් පරිසර හානියක් වුණා. පරිසර දූෂණයක් සිද්ධ වුණා. ගල්කිස්ස මුහුදු තීරය කියන බොක්කක්. ඒක ස්වභාවික පැවැත්මක්. පරිසර අලංකාර නිසා සංචාර කර්මාන්තයට හානියක් වෙලා තියෙනවා. ව්‍යාජ ප්‍රකාශය කරලා ජනතාව නොමග යවලා මේ දේ වහගන්න බෑ. අද ජනතාවට සහ රටට සිද්ධ වෙච්ච හානියට කවුද වගේ කියන්නේ?
In your business news, Sri Lankan shares closed lower last Friday, dragged down by losses in heavyweight industrial and financial stocks. However, the benchmark index clocked a second consecutive weekly gain. The BOS gained 1% for the week. Furthermore, analysts expect the market to display positive momentum in the upcoming week. Now let's have a look at what we can expect in the week ahead starting tomorrow.
In the upcoming week, we expect some buying interest to come into the market with the valuations. Most of the blue chip companies are still at attractive levels. We feel that buying interest will be there among the local investors. So the local investor community has the biggest interest in the market because we are seeing some mixed reactions from the foreign investors. Selected blue chip counters we feel is where the interest is likely to be. Specifically more focusing on the banking sector counters, and with that we feel that there could be interest across the board. However, it is mostly likely to be on those specific selected blue chip counters only. So with that we don't expect a huge surge in the market, but we feel that the market could be on a more positive momentum, and also there could be a bit of foreign interest also coming in, where as we saw in the last week on a couple of days where we saw a bit of net foreign inflow coming back into the market. We feel that the turnover levels are likely to be around the 1 billion rupee mark, with a reasonable level of retail activity also present in the market.
Front-month US benchmark West Texas Intermediate futures gained 88% for May, marking its best monthly performance on record according to Dow Jones market data. WTI's second best month on record was September 1990, when it gained 44.6%. The WTI for July delivery on Friday increased $1.78 to settle at $35.49 a barrel on the New York Mercantile Exchange. Insiders noted that there is still a long way to go for oil prices to recover, since the WTI is currently 46% below its recent high of $65.65 a barrel in January. At the same time, global benchmark Brent climbed 39.81% for the month, the best monthly performance since 1999. More news on the other side of this break. Stay tuned. In your international news, despite high infection numbers, some countries have taken steps to relax virus lockdown measures as a move to kickstart their economies. Brazil still continues to experience significantly high fatalities and infections as the WHO warned that South America has now become the COVID-19 epicenter.
Brazil's overnight death toll during the past 24 hours stood at 890, increasing its total to 28,834 as a result. The country's total cases of infection have also increased up to 498,440. Colombia, who also shares a border with Brazil, issued new measures to control the spread of the novel coronavirus in 3 of its most affected cities yesterday, including the capital Bogota, as the rest of the country prepares for quarantine rules to start easing. Colombia began a nationwide quarantine in late March to control the spread of COVID-19, and it was extended last Thursday until 1st of July, with some restrictions eased. However, the Colombian government stated that the rules will not be relaxed in Bogota and the cities of Cali and Cartagena, which have been hit hard by the pandemic. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia's mosques opened their doors to worshippers today for the first time in more than 2 months, as the kingdom eased restrictions on movement to curb the spread of the virus. People rushed to mosques for dawn prayers, wearing their masks and each holding personal prayer mats, as they stood apart from each other to maintain social distancing. Saudi authorities said earlier this month that restrictions would be lifted in 3 phases, culminating in a curfew ending with the exception of the holy city of Mecca from June 21st. Meanwhile, life in Bangladeshi capital Dhaka is gradually returning to normal as train services resumed and crowds formed back to the Bangladeshi capital over the weekend to get ready for offices that are due to reopen tomorrow. Despite increasing infections, authorities in Bangladesh have decided to gradually lift a lockdown that has been in place since March 26th, as they try to diminish the economic impact of the coronavirus restrictions. Trade centres, markets and government offices are now set to reopen tomorrow, while public transport services resumed across the country from Sunday. In the meantime, India has announced plans to further ease a strict national lockdown, even as the country reported a record daily rise in new coronavirus cases. Restaurants, hotels, shopping centres and places of worship will be allowed to reopen in many areas in the first stage of a 3-phase plan from 8th of June. However, the areas with high numbers of COVID-19 cases will remain under tight lockdown.
SpaceX, the private rocket company of billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk, launched 2 Americans towards orbit from Florida yesterday in a mission that marks the first space flight of NASA astronauts from US soil in 9 years. A SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket lifted off from the Kennedy Space Center at 3:22 p.m., launching Dow Hurley and Bob Behnken on a 19-hour ride aboard the company's newly designed Crew Dragon capsule bound for the International Space Station. Crew Dragon separated from its second stage booster at 3:35 p.m. and entered orbit. Since then, NASA astronauts have had to hit rides into orbit aboard Russia's Soyuz spacecraft. For Musk, the launch represents another milestone for the reusable rockets his company pioneered to make space flight less costly and more frequent. With that, we wrap up tonight's edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining. I'm Shanella Fernando. Good night.